if you start the meeting.
Perfect, thank you. Bore da, good morning to you all and welcome to this multi-location meeting of the Education Skills and Wellbeing Scrutiny Committee on Tuesday the 27th of September 2022. I am Councillor Rebecca Phillips and I will be chairing this meeting. Please ensure your phones are switched to silent for the duration of the meeting. In addition, when asked to raise your hand, if members who are virtually viewing could raise their electronic hand, and for members in the chamber, just raise your hand. For the purpose of declarations, I would like to confirm that we will be scrutinising all 3 items on the Cabinet Board papers. I'll now move on to the declarations, agenda item 2. Please indicate if you have a declaration of interest. Councillor Goldep-John.
I am a member of Neath Tennis Club and Neath Cricket Club.
Thank you for that. Alison will note and get the forms to you. Are there any other members who wish to declare? I don't see any. Great, so I'll move on. We've done the pre-decision scrutiny, so we're moving on to the Cabinet Board papers. And the first item we're going to scrutinise is item 6, which is the disposal of land at Neath Leisure Centre. I understand that Paul Walker will be taking this item. Paul, do you have anything to add to the report?
No, nothing, Chair. It's pretty straightforward. The only anomaly, Chair, is there is a sublease with the Sub-Aqua Club who lease a garage adjacent to the Leisure Centre in Dyfed Road. They've been put on notice that unfortunately there won't be any provision for them at the new centre, although they will be able to use the swimming pool for their regular weekly sessions. But other than that, Chair, it's pretty straightforward, nothing else to add.
Thank you, diolch. I do have indications from members wishing to speak on this item. So firstly, we have Councillor Goldep-John.
Thank you, Chair. Noting the remit of this committee to scrutinise education, skills, wellbeing, climate change, tourism and leisure, I believe it's important for any proposed development on the Dyfed Road site to include and incorporate elements of leisure, tourism and wellbeing in any proposed master plan design. Citing the recent successes of the Glamorgan Cricket at Neath Cricket Ground and ex-Wales International Rugby player testimonials at the Knoll, the Dyfed Road site presents a golden opportunity to provide a range of tourism and leisure opportunities to all people within Neath Talbot and further afield. In addition, the possibility to investigate any potential retrofit of the existing building to provide enhanced services for health and wellbeing purposes should also be explored. Moreover, any development on the site should be delivered in line with our decarbonisation strategy and targets. I'm aware that this project would likely become the responsibility for the Environment and Regeneration Scrutiny Committee and would propose they take due consideration of the above when determining any future development of the site. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you for that, Goldep-John. I'm sure, Paul, you've noted that statement.
I have, Chair, and I will discuss it with Simon Brennan, head of Regen, who this building will now transfer to, but I will take on all the comments and make sure Simon's aware. And perhaps he may want to get in touch with you, Councillor Goldep-John.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you very much for that. We have had an indication from Councillor Reynolds to speak on this item also.
Thank you, Chair. I'm going back to the item mentioned by Paul in relation to the Sub-Aqua Club lease. I am concerned that we seem to have that lease surrender. I know many of us received letters from the Sub-Aqua Club asking if they could be supported in finding alternative facilities. I'm glad to hear they're going to continue to use the swimming pool, the new pool, but they had got real problems with storage, etc. going forward. And I wondered if any assistance was given. And given that the impact assessment indicates that there was no impact on centre users, I believe that's wrong, because if they haven't got premises and they are struggling, there is an impact. And one of the roles of scrutiny is to clearly scrutinise the impact assessments as well. They are there for us to be sure that we're doing the right things and doing them in the right way. So if I could have some information about that, thank you.
Yeah, certainly, Councillor Reynolds. Our estates colleagues have been in discussions with the Sub Aqua Club. Unfortunately, the Sub Aqua Club don't pay any rent for where they are. And obviously, any buildings that may be available will come with an annual rent. I've met with them with the Sports Council, and the Sports Council unfortunately aren't able to offer them any sort of grant. I know that Councillor Hurley, our cabinet member, has been in discussions with him, and with the club, and I believe there is a possibility they may be able to use the Sea Scouts facility in Port Talbot, but that discussion is ongoing, Councillor Reynolds.
If I may, Chair.
Yes, you may.
I'm particularly concerned. I know that we have the real and emerging possibility of the National Dive Centre being located within Neath Talbot, and particularly in my ward, and that there would obviously be the possibility of links. Have there been any connections attempted between crossing departments to link up these organisations who may be able to work together and may get support for early start within our swimming pools and having storage facilities available more locally for them?
No, not to my knowledge, Councillor Reynolds, other than discussions with the Sports Council, and the Sports Council unfortunately couldn't assist them.
Could we possibly look at pointing them in that direction, please,
Yes,
Paul? That would be
of
really
course.
useful.
Not a problem at all, Councillor Reynolds. I'll get in touch with them and point them in that direction for you.
Thank you. And could we amend the statement, or at least make some sort of comment about the impact and how it's moderated on those service users? Thank you.
Yeah, will do.
Thank you. Do any other members have questions on this item? No, I don't see any. So the recommendations are listed on page 4 and 5. Can I please have a proposer?
Sorry, Rebecca. Am I okay? Am I okay to speak in this or not? I can.
Yeah.
Is that okay? Yeah. On behalf of the Sub Aqua, they contacted me as well, so I got in touch with, or I am still talking to Neath at the YMCA, because they own a building down in Talbot. The Sea Cadets, because they've obviously got buildings in a similar area. We also spoke to Silver Springs, which is the 2 lakes up in Neath, because they have got some Sub Aqua activities up there. And yeah, we realised with the dive centre, so I've spoken to them about that as well. So yeah, we are looking at possibilities, so we are trying to help them as well. Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you, Cabinet Member.
Thank you for that. Okay, so if no other members have anything to add, we'll move on with the recommendation listed on page 4 and 5. Can I please have a proposer and a seconder?
I propose.
Second.
So Councillor
you.
Dan Thomas proposed and Councillor Wayne Carpenter seconded in the chamber, Chair.
There we go. Thank you for that. If members do not indicate to the contrary, then I will take it that this decision is supported to Cabinet.
We can't see any indications in the chamber or online to the contrary, Chair.
There we go. Thank you very much. Diolch yn fawr. So we're moving on with the agenda. Agenda item 7, which is the Welsh and Education Strategic Plan. I believe Rhiannon Crowhurst is going to take this item. Rhiannon, if you have anything to add to the report, please. Diolch.
Thank you, Chair. Nothing to add. This has been before members a few times now. It's been approved by Welsh Government, and we're looking for approval to take it to Council so that we can publish it and get on with taking the action. So nothing to add, but happy to take any questions if there are any. Thank you.
Thank you. Diolch for that. I do have some questions myself, but firstly, if I could call Councillor Reynolds for her questions. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm just wanted to say, Rhiannon, and all the people who've worked on this, as has been said before, I'm really pleased, and particularly as it was initially voted against by members of the coalition when it came before us previously, to see this Welsh education plan, which was created and brought to consultation under the previous Labour administration, come forward for approval of implementation. I think it's going to really make a difference in our county, and I'd like to congratulate staff on all the work on it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for that, Councillor Reynolds. Yeah, and I would also like to thank officers for their work on the strategic plan, and I'm very pleased that improvements and amendments have been made to the plan. The report does note that the plan will be reviewed annually with progress reported to members. I'm just wondering if officers feel that a yearly update is sufficient. Also, I think it's important that we're thinking about the objectives of the WESP in all decisions that we make as an authority. And I'm just wondering if we've thought about how we're going to do that, and is it an idea to add the WESP objectives to an impact assessment for members? Thank you.
Okay, to answer your first question, we're happy to come more often if you want us to. We said annually, Welsh Government has stipulated annually as well, but we'd already said that before we'd started putting the WESP together, that we felt it was important. And an annual report, I suppose, gives you a full flavour of what's gone on in the whole year. But we're more than happy to come more often if you want us to report to this committee, or yeah, probably to this committee would be best, wouldn't it? So that's fine. You let us know, we can do that. We're anticipating that the objectives, the 7 objectives, will have group leaders, and they will be meeting on a regular basis through the year. They'll report back to the WESP forum then. Less often. They're the ones that are doing the work. They'll report back to us, and then the forum will report back to you. So you let us know. There's no problem with that. In terms of the WESP objectives being included, I mean, a lot of the decisions that will come before you, we do have Welsh language impact assessments on anyway. And I think any of the important strategic decisions, such as, you know, new schools and things like that, the WESP is tied up in them and not able to move from it. You know, it is all part of it. So that is covered there. I think it's certainly worth being mindful of all the decisions that are taken, of the impact on the Welsh language, and that is part of our IIA work anyway. It's in there. So I'm not sure really. I think we'd have to go away and think about how we could incorporate any more into that and make it meaningful, and not just make it an exercise that we're doing just to, you know, tick boxes or anything. But we can certainly talk about it. My colleagues and I will take that back to the WESP forum as well, and see what we can do.
That's great. Thank you, Rhiannon. Councillor Matthew Crowley, please.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. If I may, I agree with Rhiannon, to be fair. I think an annual report would suffice, given the minimal resources we have within the education sector and across all our council services. And to put a program together is always a lot of time consuming. We've scrutinised this WESP plan now for a couple of years, and as Sonia just said, you know, my own personal view is I'm happy to see it on a yearly format, given that they got to produce a yearly format for the Welsh Government anyhow. So, I mean, I think we've crossed all the T's and dotted the I's as far as the WESP is concerned, and it overarches most of our education schemes and policies. So I'm just mindful of the amount of work that goes into it, Rhiannon and her team, and just to cut them a bit of slack, if I'm honest. So I would like to propose that we view it annually, Rebecca, if that's possible. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Councillor Peter Rees.
All right, thank you. Yeah, I fully endorse what Matthew has just said. The WESP, the previous WESP program and policy, we scrutinised that on an annual basis. So we looked at it on an annual basis, and it sufficed. And I think what Matthew has just said, I fully endorse, and I would second that motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other members who wish to speak on this item? No, I don't see any. So the recommendations are listed on page 29. Can I please have a proposer and a seconder?
Happy to propose, Chair.
Thank you.
Happy to second, Chair.
Diolch yn
Councillor
fawr.
James
Thank you.
Henton, second in the chamber, Chair.
Thank you very much, Diolch. If members do not indicate the contrary, then I will take it that this decision is supported to Cabinet.
I can't see any indications to the contrary in the chamber or online, Chair.
Great, diolch yn fawr. Moving on to agenda item 8, the play sufficiency assessment. And I understand that Hayley Lurvy is taking this item. If you have anything to add, Hayley, thank you.
Nothing to add, only that, and thank to your sharp eyes, Councillor Phillips, and also Alison Harris, who's the manager for Think Family Partnership, will also be bringing the report with me. There is a discrepancy regarding some of the numbers regarding the wards around the supervised play provision. We have chased that up with the consultant who wrote the report. We will amend and recirculate that very quickly to you. So just to give apologies for that and say it will be amended and updated. And happy to take any, Alison and myself, happy to take any questions. Diolch yn fawr.
Thank you for that. Yeah, just for clarity of members, the report does note for 4 wards with no supervised play on one page, and then on the other page there's 5 wards with no supervised play. So it is 5 wards, and thank you to officers for clarification on that. Before I come in with a question, I've got Councillor Caroline Lewis who'd like to ask, please.
Oh, hi. Yes, after reading the report, I looked at page 106, the workforce gaps. And there's a statement that says 40% of schools said play training for staff could help them deliver more play in schools. This is a bit concerning, really. It's almost half the workforce feel they could do with extra training in play. So my question is, you know, I believe play should be done holistically throughout the day by our staff. And I question how many qualified nursery nurses or level 3 BTEC qualifications we do have in our early years provision, because a qualified staff would really know, wouldn't need any more training on play development. They would know the milestones of children and know exactly how to develop that. So that is a concern, and knowing that a lot of support staff do actually cover teaching staff when they're not in the classroom. I would just like some numbers on how many qualified staff we do actually have working in schools and early years provision settings. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Lewis. I'll start and I'll pass over to Alison if that's okay. I don't have the exact figures with me, but certainly we can do an audit of that. It is something that we are looking at the moment with play, and in line with new legislation with ALN reform in terms of the rollout of the childcare and Flying Start. And I agree with you, it's a key area. You know, play goes hand in hand with child development and those building blocks that we need for literacy or social communication. So we're doing quite a bit around this in terms of the training with our school staff, working with the education support officer who is responsible for the early years nursery foundation phase, looking at the new curriculum around that. But also we are providing a lot of training opportunities and are able to use some grant funding to release staff. So things like forest schools are really key in getting children outdoors and the play around that, but also the theory around it. That's really important to know what underpins the importance of play. So there is quite a comprehensive training menu that has been developed and is now in place to address this. And as I say, you can certainly look at that because it's part of the work we will be doing as that anyway. But I'll pass over to Alison if she's got anything to add around the early years settings.
Thanks, Hayley. The information that's in the action plan would have been drawn out of the assessment report, and there was a workshop with play strategy group members to look at how they could take some of the actions forward. There was work carried out with schools, so the 40% I would say is from the people from the schools who participated in it. And I think it's about it having specific play training, so something in addition to anything they would have learned as any kind of teaching or classroom-based training, and it would include non-classroom staff as well, so lunchtime supervisors and other staff who may be on playgrounds and things. And I think the key bit is that they want more play training. So I don't think it's that they don't have play training. It's how do you build on that? Because like Hayley said, there can be a lot of theory around it and lots of different ways of extending children's opportunities to play. So it is about having the range of play opportunities to make sure that we can keep developing children through play.
No, I think that's excellent. You know, obviously, if you're qualified, you would have that background and training, and you would know that. And yes, more training is important, always ongoing, but you would have a good, solid understanding to start with. No, I'm all for, you know, if the kitchens, all staff are aware of child development and the importance of it. That's great. But it would be interesting to know how many staff are qualified to a certain level within our schools, because as we see, 0 to 5, that's when the most, the brain development, develops the most. And I believe all staff should be qualified in early years.
Can I come in? Sorry, I absolutely agree. The other thing that just to mention, we are working with the Neath Talbot College to look at their training programme, because the training programme for teaching assistants at the minute is quite generic. So we've met with them and we've said, look, we need more specific training around some key areas here, play, ALN, child development, that. So they're very open to that. So we've had initial meetings around that. So we'll be taking that work forward as well.
Oh, that's brilliant to hear. Yes, brilliant. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lewis, and thank you, officers, for answering that. I noticed that in the report, antisocial behaviour around parks is seen as a barrier to play. How are we working with the police to address this issue?
I'm sorry, Hayley, jumping in there.
Yeah, no, it's fine. Thanks, Alison.
Antisocial behaviour has been a long-standing issue within the sufficiency assessment, and it's really difficult to overcome. The police that would have been invited to the Play Strategy Implementation Group, to my knowledge, they don't attend that. And I think we've had lots of issues around what perceptions of antisocial behaviour are. Sometimes it is as low level as older children being in playgrounds and things, although we do accept that, there is antisocial behaviour in playgrounds, and our parks colleagues will be aware of that from damage and things happening in playgrounds. I think one of the things that's in the action plan is about looking at that membership of our Play Strategy Implementation Group. And it is a time that we do need to be thinking who else needs to be in there to really take some of these actions forward. So the police is definitely one of those, that we do need to be encouraging to engage with the process.
Yeah, certainly. And I think, bringing local councillors on board as well, just getting that, because often councillors have very good links with the PCSOs and with the police. So I think bringing councillors in to areas where we do have issues would be really helpful as well.
Yeah, will do. Thank you.
Thank you. Do any of the members have any questions on this item?
Councillor Sonia Reynolds and Councillor Wayne Carpenter have both indicated in the chamber, Chair.
Okay, if we could have Councillor Carpenter first and then Councillor Reynolds, please. Thank you.
Mentioned in the report is the fact there's 5 areas not covered by play provision. What is being done to make sure those areas are covered?
With the areas that are not covered, they will have been mapped by the postcode of the provision itself. So the fact that there isn't a provision in the ward doesn't necessarily mean that the ward isn't being served, because there could be a provision just over the boundary. What we can provide members with is a map of where the provision is rather than a list of wards, because it'll be easier to see on a visual level around how close provision is to houses. So we can give you that map with the provision mapped, and also where the housing areas are within that as well. So but we don't take into account all the wooded areas that we've got.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think that'll be really helpful actually for members, because it is quite scary when you look. I know in my ward doesn't got any provision for the 2 areas listed. So that would be really helpful. Councillor Reynolds, please.
Thank you, Chair. I did indicate in pre-brief. I've got several questions on the action plan, and I'll probably take them one at a time if that's all right with you. One links into the question that was just asked by Councillor Carpenter, and I'd like some sort of definition of supervised play, because my ward, for example, is mentioned within the wards that have no supervised play, and I'm aware of some. So I'd like some definition to know what it is we're dealing with there.
The play sufficiency assessment will cover play, sport, leisure and culture for children and young people 0 to 17. With it, the assessment takes into account a range of desktop and kind of face-to-face research. So the desktop research for this would have been the CIW registered childcare list, and we would have worked with youth service colleagues around older age provision. There was engagement with children, young people and partners and stakeholders as well. But the definition is as broad as play, sport, leisure and culture for 0 to 17.
So the fact that there's a voluntary youth club in the area, that there are various other clubs, including a circus provider, that there's a registered childcare provider that runs holiday clubs, and also there is winter wellbeing and summer fun provision and camping and trips and all sorts. Would that not feature? I am concerned that we're missing a lot of the play provision. I'm not saying there's enough. I'm honestly not saying there's enough. But I'm concerned that the assessment hasn't taken account of all of the provision, and it doesn't feel to me as though it's dealt with community organisations and what is linked in. Certainly as councillors, we had no contact on this that I'm aware of. And in addition, I know the organisations I'm involved, and linked in with didn't have contact. So I'm just concerned at the level of the assessment and the depth of the assessment in relation to this, and hope that we can perhaps look at how we can link in with community better. And I'd love a conversation with the team about that if that's the case.
Yeah, happy to have that conversation. I think with the assessment is a snapshot in time, and I accept that it does look like there are elements that would have been missed. We need to submit the action plan to Welsh Government, and we submit annual progress reports to Welsh Government at the end of every financial year. So this is a working document. So we will update around supervised play and around outdoor spaces throughout the lifetime of the assessment. So I think between now and March, the end of March, when we will need to submit an update to Welsh Government, I think it would be a good time for us to be having those conversations with members and with wider community groups, that we can be clear about what is being included and what isn't, and how do we bring it up to date, and that we're more satisfied that everything that we need to include is in it. How do we do that over the next 6 months?
Thank you.
Councillor Reynolds, if you want to come back with your questions.
Yes, please. I'm grateful for that. And, I realise how difficult these things are to do, and it would be good to have that further engagement. The column in relation to funding on the action plan, there are a number of areas where it says existing funding, staff hours, etc. I wondered how much can be done additionally within existing staff hours and within existing funding. I am aware that our budget for the current year proposed an increase in youth service funding, and I hope that that will continue to be available to the youth service, and that was going to be focused on some of the outlying communities, and I'm hoping that that will continue. And then in other places it says new funding to be sourced. Have we any idea where that funding might come from and what avenues are being looked at, please? Thank you.
With existing funding, I think the Play Strategy Group do acknowledge that there is quite a lot of resource supporting not just play, but all the different elements of the play sufficiency assessment. So there is a degree of work that can be done within existing resource, existing funding and existing staff capacity. I think money for all actions would be welcome. We all acknowledge that we could do more if we had more money, but I don't think we want to prevent the action plan from moving forward on the basis that there isn't additional funding. The play sufficiency assessment does get resourced from Welsh Government. usually on an annual basis, but that funding comes in very often last minute. It's short term, so our ability to spend strategically is very, very limited. So where we've got elements in the action plan that needs additional funding, some of that we would look at if, say, winter of wellbeing funding is made available later this year. We can look at how we prioritise some of that funding, but longer term it is difficult to really predict where the funding's going to come from. But I think as an authority, it's how do we become more aware of the other funding pots that are influencing play around highways and road safety and transport, that it's not just play funding that we're looking for funding from all areas.
Hayley, did you want to come in on this?
Oh, yes, just quickly. Thank you, Chair. Just to reiterate what Alison has said, really, a piece of work needs to be done in terms of, you know, we're all across directorates and services, we're all getting grants from Welsh Government at the minute, and Welsh Government aren't always joining the dots on the grants. So I think that's a piece of work that we have to do internally. We are doing some work obviously around that already, but I think we need to take that forward now, looking particularly at play provision and working across with other directorates as well. So it's really, you know, part of this work is really about strengthening our relationships and communications with the wider sort of wider services as well. I think that's really key because, as Alison said, you know, there is funding there, and very often they cross over in terms of what we're trying to achieve. So that communication is really key in terms of taking this forward as well. Diolch, thank you.
Diolch, Hayley. Councillor Reynolds, did you have more questions?
I do, and I'd just like to come back on that one as well, just to ask for a confirmation, possibly from the Cabinet member, that we are actually, that there is the intention of maintaining the level of funding that was promised to the Youth Service, given the real needs in this area at the current time.
Yes, that's fine. And yeah, I can link with the directorate to arrange confirmation for that, to confirm.
Thank you. Yeah. And then the final question on this is in relation to the playground areas and delays that have been occurring in repairs and refurbishment. We're aware of playgrounds that have been closed over the summer period, and you know the problems that causes for a community. Will that work be taken forward? Will there be a greater emphasis put following on from this plan? Because I see no mention of the improvement in play areas. And there is a real need to look at maintaining and making sure the equipment in play areas is of a quality that can be used in communities for that unsupervised play or play that's supervised by families.
I absolutely agree with that, and I think what's key for us is working with our partners. It's not something we can directly do ourselves, but obviously it's working with the directorates to ensure the work is done, understanding that what their pressures are at the moment as well. But certainly this is something that we are raising as an issue. Alison, don't you want to add anything to that?
No, not really. I mean, just to say that, you know, we do work closely with colleagues in environment when capital funding is made available from Welsh Government, that we can inject some financial resource into playgrounds when that money is there. It is an area that we do know they struggle with. Community councils are sometimes in a better position in terms of applying for additional funding, but from the authority's perspective, it is a challenging area.
Thank you very much, and lots of work gone into this, and thank you again, staff.
Thank you. I see no other indications from members. The recommendation is listed on page 102. Can I please...
Councillor Phillips, we have an indication, sorry, in the chamber. Councillor Dan Thomas.
Sorry, Councillor Thomas, sorry.
Yeah, just following on from Councillor Reynolds' comments, really. I think for newly elected members, it would be useful if we could have an understanding in each individual ward what supervised play provision is and what's currently on offer in each individual ward. Because as it stands, I'm sure Councillor Carpenter would agree with me, I don't know what's on offer in Neath East, because I would class that we don't have supervised play provision. So if they could feed that back, I'd be grateful. Thank
Yeah,
you.
happy to provide that, and we can give you. We'll include the non-supervised play as well, so you can see the whole picture then for each ward.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you.
Very grateful for that, Alison. Do we have any indications that I've missed before I move on to the recommendation?
I can't see any further indications
No.
in the chamber.
Okay, great. So the recommendation is on page 102. Can I please have a proposer and a seconder?
I propose.
I'll second, Chair.
Councillor Dan Thomas proposed and Councillor James Henton seconded, Chair, in the chamber.
Lovely, thank you. Diolch yn fawr. If members do not indicate to the contrary, I would take it that this decision has been supported to Cabinet.
I can't see any indications to the contrary, either in the chamber or online, Chair.
Thank you. So we have no urgent items today, so this brings us to the end of the agenda. Thank you, members, for joining and contributing, and thank you very much to officers for their work. I hope you all have a lovely day. Diolch yn fawr. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.